So for those who've been paying attention to the news, and for those who've been paying attention to the water crisis and other water crisis, like Mzansi, you would have come across a story that happened in Westbury. So there was a peaceful protest. I think, maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it wasn't as peaceful as it was supposed to be. Maybe it was peaceful, but people was protesting for a basic necessity, a basic need. You know, it's the reason why I feel like water should be free, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay, it's expensive, but bro, with water everywhere, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm optimistic, delusional in a sense, but I feel like water should be free. And I feel like, and I think I heard something about how 6 people was gunned down with rubber bullets or whatever bullets I'm talking about. And it makes you wonder if the government or the law is for or against its citizens. But I'm not here about all that today. Today I'm here about a term that I thought I came up with, but it's actually a thing. So water inequality in South Africa. Let me put this out there now, so you guys can understand what I mean by this, so that you won't be confused as to what I'm about to say in this video. There's still a sense of segregation in South Africa. Like I said before, we're still living in off-book type of apartheid, the way it's been projected and the way it's been manifested in this country. So I feel like it's safe to assume that because of the way South Africa has been going, because of South Africa's lack of development, its lack of proper leadership, there's places that have been prioritized in terms of water, places that have been prioritized over some. Let me explain. If you think about the apartheid legacy and the apartheid era policies that deliberately, listen bro, check how evil these people were, bro. They didn't only, not only did they try to segregate South Africans and try to sort of kill South Africans' willpower, destroy South Africans internally and outwardly, they deliberately denied rural black communities access to water, and may have applied to other races too. If you think about these policies, bro, and if you think about the 1956 Water Act, you can do your research as to what that means or what it's about. But if you think of all those policies and everything, I feel like it's logical. It's only logical to assume that, okay, if this area is predominantly white, it was deliberately for white individuals, and this one was for blacks. I feel like it's only logical to assume that this place was prioritized in terms of electricity service delivery, infrastructure and development, namans, and this one was sort of like neglected. You know what I'm saying? Deliberately. I feel like it's only safe to assume, and this is during the apartheid era. What does that mean? Check, bro. What that literally means is that, okay, there was better systems that ensured a better service delivery for this community, right?
No.
So there was better electricity development, okay, power lines, pylons, substations, and the water system was better. So what that means is, during the apartheid era, everything good, everything sustaining was directed towards this community. The reason why we still have inequality in the sense that there's communities that is like rich now and communities that is considered poor now. Did you understand why I say this? I feel like this is still the case today. In this new Africa, my boy Africa, in this new South Africa, this free nation, I feel like it's still the case. We are still being segregated, but in this water sense. Let me explain. I don't know about you, but I'll be listening to my elders a lot. I'll be listening to my elders in the conversations that we're having, especially about the state of South Africa and the state of Africa, whatever it is. And I don't know about you, right? But I've come across a common idea about how, I don't know if this is still a case, man. I've only been alive for like a few years, you know. So I almost said centuries, shit. But I've only been alive for a few years, right? So I don't know some of this stuff. But I've been hearing adults talking about how some hospitals are still like how they used to be back then, how some streets are still like how they used to be back then, the street names, the buildings and everything, you know what I'm talking about. So it makes you wonder if anything was done to change South Africa, literally, and if anything was done to change the way or how water was delivered to South Africans. Here, now, I want to hit the punchline now. So the infrastructure in South Africa is obviously deteriorating in real time, crumbling in real time. We can see, even I can see it. You don't need to be educated in order to see that. To see that your street is fucked up, right? Something basic like that. Why? Because of our leadership and corruption and stuff like that. Yeah. Now, my only point of view, or if I was to debate this issue of bringing the land back in South Africa, my only opinion or take in terms of that is the fact that I think, well, in fact, let me start off like this. I think this narrative that is pushed by Umalema and everybody else, bring back the land that you stole and whatever, is pointless and stupid. In the sense that if you understand what's going on in the government, you understand that it's not the people who own this land or own any land for a matter of fact that is fucking over. It's the government who's repossessing this land. And I feel like instead of focusing on that bring back the land narrative, we should have focused from the beginning on the idea of bringing back South Africa. So literally bringing back the land, reviving the land. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, bro. I feel like if South Africa was really, really serious about eradicating anything that would remind us about the apartheid, you know what I'm talking about? I feel like we were supposed to do something, or we were supposed to upgrade South Africa in a sense where we changed the infrastructure to represent, the new South Africa that people has been preaching about for these years. What I mean is, instead of fighting people who may have worked for their land, regardless of if they stole it or whatever, you know what I'm talking about? I feel like we were supposed to fight to bring up South Africa as a symbol of a new day and age. Something that would look at as a symbol of change. I feel like sometimes it's the reason why a lot of people I feel like people they don't have a choice but to think of apartheid. I mean, if your granny was assaulted by a white man at a hospital and the hospital still looks the same today, I feel like they don't have a choice but to remember that and to remember and to be reminded of apartheid and stuff like that. But I feel like that's besides the point. So instead of literally building a new South Africa, instead of talking a lot of shit about a new South Africa, instead of literally bringing a new South Africa, infrastructure-wise, we've allowed it to deteriorate and to crumble, right? Okay, cool. But it makes you question then. It raises a question, a very important question, especially about our infrastructure. If South Africa failed to literally change and to improve, not even improve, to literally change the infrastructure in South Africa to represent a new South Africa. What do I mean when I say new South Africa? I mean like changing street names according to whatever is going to symbolize the new South Africa. You know what I'm talking about? Instead of improving our buildings, our churches, our police stations, our hospitals, our road and everything to represent a post-colonialism or post-colonial like era. Instead of doing that, we squandered it, right? So I feel like, I'm going in circles here. If South Africa failed to do that, who is to say that South Africa didn't fail to improve the process in which it's going to deliver its services to the country? What I'm literally saying here is, if South Africa failed to improve its infrastructure as a whole, who is to say that South Africa didn't find a way to deliver water or electricity equally to both the rich and the poor communities? It's the reason why I'd be like, yeah, we're still segregated. Because if I was to put it in literal terms, as harsh as it may seem, as harsh as it may sound, some communities is prioritized, yes. Some communities is literally prioritized over others. So if I was to come on here and to make a logical analysis, I could come here and say South Africa is prioritizing this community over this community because during apartheid this community used to be a white dominated community, and this one is a black dominated community. But if you think of the way things be happening, especially in our government, we tend to wonder if it was intentional. So in a literal sense, yes, black communities, especially those that was prehistorically poor, yes, they're sidelined. Yes, there is sidelined. But if you look at whispering, everything's happening whispering, then you tend to understand that, okay, no, it wasn't just blacks, it was the other races that were seen as inferior to white back then. You know what I'm saying? So yes, we are still sidelined if you think about it. That's my fight. Because I watched the news update and I watched the people's responses and everything they had to say, the opinions and stuff. And this man literally came on. I couldn't find the clip, but this man literally came onto the news, was interviewed. He came onto the news and was like, "Fuck, we've been fighting for water for so long, but these other individuals in that part have the kids literally be playing with water there. They literally be playing water, yeah, having a summer day swing, whatever, and we still fighting for a basic necessity." I think this goes on to prove that yes, we're still sidelined as communities in South Africa, but the issue is if it's intentional or not. You know, talking about intentional or not. I feel like, bro, we is fucked in real time. We're fucked in every single way as South Africans, and I just hate to see it, because these people are just getting richer and richer and richer, bro. They're getting wealthier, bro. They're getting bigger, fatter. Their kids are doing good, and you, as a South African, paying your taxes, but you're still getting fucked over. It's funny because if VAT, I actually learned this yesterday, bro. I didn't understand it, but now I understand it. If VAT applies to everybody, regardless of if you work or not, I know it's logic, but like, there's people who don't understand these things, and I didn't. Now I do. You know what I'm saying? There's people, like, if VAT applies to everybody, so if they increase the VAT, bro, think of the poorest unemployed person. It's the reason why I be arguing, if I want to argue if the social grant is even helping anybody, especially now, or if it's just another psyop.